Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bible reading plan. Today we are in John chapter 2, and we see the first miracle of Jesus in the wedding at Cana. Jesus is at a wedding, and the hosts run out of wine, which is a very scary thing back in that time, because it would be the guests would see that as disrespectful for the wedding party to invite them and not have enough wine for them. So the first round of wine went around, and that was traditionally the best wine. So when that went around, everyone was happy. The wine was good, and then they ran out. So they go. Mary, his mother, goes to Jesus, and she goes, "Jesus, we need you to get us new wine somehow. To bring us new wine. We know you can do it." And Jesus says, "Woman, my time hasn't come yet. This isn't the time that I am supposed to, reveal my ministry and reveal myself in a sign and miracle." And she expresses her need for Jesus, and he relents. He says, "Okay, I will." And she says, "Do whatever he asks." And we see Jesus's love, his heart for people, his heart for those who are in need. Maybe it wasn't his time to begin his ministry, but he saw a need and he met it because he loves us and he serves us. And there may be specific rules that he would have liked to follow there, but he cared about his people more than he did about concrete rules or plans. So he relented, and he turned the water into wine, and they said, "Wow, you brought the best last." Usually people bring the best first, because the wine that Jesus brought was so much better than any wine they had tasted, because Jesus, when he performs miracles, he goes all the way. He gives us more than expected. And it just shows that, Jesus, maybe there was a plan to begin with for Jesus to come out in his ministry at one point, but the true plan was for Jesus to break off from the plan here. And sometimes that's true. The true plan for us is for us to break off of the plan, to break off of the expected path that we might be on. And we see that later, starting in verse 13, Jesus cleanses the temple. Now you might be confused at this, because we have read this story 3 times before, most likely the same story 3 times before, and we see that in the last week of Jesus' life. But scholars believe that what John is doing here in the Gospel of John is he's showing the conflict between Jesus and the Pharisees out the gate. He's presenting this sort of narrative and showing us, this is who Jesus is in chapter 1. He's the Word become flesh, and he's dwelling among us. He's God in human form. He's the Messiah. And then in second chapter, he shows us this power, and then he shows us this opposition of the Pharisees. He sets this up a little bit, and he believes this is a significant story that we need to know at the beginning so we can get the full context. So it doesn't mean that right after Jesus performed his first miracles, he went to the temple and cleansed it out. It's just showing us a story that highlights the conflict between Jesus and the Pharisees. And what it's really showing us is the conflict that Jesus had with religion. The Pharisees saw the law, and they saw the law as something that they could apply that could fix them. And Paul tells us that the use of the law is to show us our sin. Now, if they saw that the law was to show them their sin, they also believed that the law was to fix their sin. And instead of God fixing their sin, the Pharisees thought that the law could fix their sin, so they adorned themselves with the things of the law. So all around them, they wanted everyone to know that they followed the law. So they wore nice clothing, they wore words of the law on their outer garments. But when Jesus comes, he starts attacking this spirit of religion, the spirit of adorning yourself with pride and fine jewels and everything like that. And he says, my gospel, my good news is that the Holy Spirit is going to cleanse you from outside in. So it's no longer from inside out, adorning yourself and hiding the sin inside your heart, like Jesus calls them a whitewashed tomb. It is now Jesus giving you the Holy Spirit that cleanses you from outside in. And that's how we get to heaven. That's how the old man has died, the new one has come, is because the Holy Spirit comes inside of us and cleanses us from inside outward. So Jesus, he gets to the temple and he starts driving these money changers out of the court, and we see that it is this outer court, and this outer court is the court of the Gentiles. And when the temple was created, this court of the Gentiles was made so all the nations could come and worship the true God of Israel. See, God's plan was never for Israel to be the only people who worship him. That was Israel's plan. So if we read in the Old Testament, God said, make this, court of the Gentiles so the Gentiles could come and worship the God of Israel. And Israel said, no, we want God to ourselves. We want to be the only ones who worship our God. So they closed themselves off. And guess what? They made this court into a court of money changers. Instead of the court of the Gentiles, it was now it's kind of like trade day we see around here. It was a court where a bunch of merchants sat out and sold animals to buy for sacrifices. So Jesus was so upset by this replacement of a place where it was a place to worship God for a place to worship the world, a place for tradition of the law rather than a place where people worship him truly. So Jesus, he fashions a whip and he drives this out. You see, this is dead religion. This is religion of practice. This is a monotonous religion. When Jesus wants true worship, he wants true worship of all people to him. So he drives them out, and we begin this conflict between the Pharisees and Jesus. He wants to abolish this dead religion. And he just shows us his heart in this. He shares this later. We're just going to continue to go through that. Jesus wants the heart. He doesn't want the tradition as much as the heart. He doesn't want us to mindlessly, walk through Christianity. He doesn't want us to see Christianity as a list of rules and not have the relationship, not have the devotion to himself. It's a relationship. It's not as much as this list of rules that we have to abstain from. And when we have this relationship with Christ, we want to abstain from those because we want to draw near to God, because we've seen the glory of God. So go throughout today knowing and praying that God opens your heart to this truth, that he desires your heart. He doesn't desire, just monotonous religion like the Pharisees had, these whitewashed tombs. He doesn't want you adorning yourself on the outside with Christianity as much as he wants your inside to be clean, your inside to have the Holy Spirit in it. So that's the heart I see of Jesus today, and that's why he opposes the proud, because when we adorn ourselves instead of, be cleansed from the inside out, when we adorn ourselves with tradition and dead religion, then we are prideful. We're saying we have religion, so we're better than you. And we want to humble ourselves and get the Holy Spirit inside our hearts and say, God, we can't do it without you. That's what he desires. He desires the humble and not the prideful. So go out through today knowing that, and I hope to see you in the most famous chapter in the whole book of the Bible tomorrow. It's going to be John 3. Have a good day.